your company name is Simplifying WCB. What that means?
Workers' Comp Simplified is an opportunity to bridge a gap where we take the information in the WCB system, and as complicated as it may seem for many people, we simplify it for Canadian businesses and EHS professionals.
Good day. Welcome to Infinity Safety Awareness Show, Our Community, hosted by your host, Sonal Fool. We bring the topics which really matters to us, which includes diversity, equity, inclusion, mental health, and whatever relate to mental health and work-related safety. Before we go further, I would like to acknowledge we are on Treaty 6 territory within the Métis homeland and Métis Nation of Alberta Region 4. We acknowledge this land as the traditional territories of many First Nations, such as Cree, Dene, Stoney. Thank you for all the hard work you have done and brought us where we are. Today we have Anthony with us. He has a passion about helping the Canadian businesses related to the WCB. We are going to talk to more about him, what WCB is, how different is WCB, is different than liability insurance, and why should we not have it, and how the premium rate, all the basic question what small businesses to big businesses struggle. Before I go further, welcome, Anthony, and thank you for taking your time to talk to us.
Well, thank you, sir. It's always an honor when we get together and get a chance to talk. So I appreciate this opportunity.
So, Anthony, before we go further, your company name is Simplifying WCB. What that means?
So Workers' Comp Simplified is an opportunity to bridge a gap that I found in the industry where we take the information in the WCB system, and as complicated as it may seem for many people, we simplify it for Canadian businesses and EHS professionals. So whatever the questions or concerns that you have, you can contact us and we will walk you through in a way that's easy to understand, so that this big complicated system is actually very simple when you look at it from a different perspective. And that's what we help people do.
You know, it's easy to say and difficult to believe.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a myth, is a taboo, WCB. As soon as someone get injured, WCB paperwork, and everyone kind of not terrified, but horrified. So my question is, first question is WCB is a no fault insurance. What that means?
Oh, that's a great question. And I wanted to thank you for saying it that way. At the end of the day, WCB is an insurance company like any other. And I think the biggest fallacy is that people think that WCB is this big government agency and it's not to be challenged or not to be questioned. Where if you had an issue with your car insurance company, you'd pick up the phone and you'd ask them questions about your policy and about, a claim or any of those things. So what no fault insurance essentially means is that the WCB doesn't care if it was the fault of the worker or the fault of the employer that the worker was injured. What they're looking at is, does the criteria for the event that occurred at work fit our policy for an acceptable claim? And in order for a claim to be accepted by WCB, the worker has to be at a time and place that's consistent with work. There has to be an employment hazard present. And the symptoms or the diagnosis has to be related to that event. If that criteria is met, it doesn't matter if the worker walked in an area they weren't supposed to, or lifted something they weren't supposed to, or maybe the employer didn't fix a piece of equipment like they were supposed to, that claim would be accepted by WCB.
Anthony, you did bring the word insurance, right? And the car insurance, you brought it. So when we are running a business or any small business, self-employed, self-proprietor, small companies or big companies, when we talk about insurance, right? Like we have car insurance, we have liability insurance, we have business insurance, and then the WCB insurance. There are so many insurances are working.
Yes.
And then there's a lot of confusion there too. I have this insurance, why I need other insurance. So my straightforward question to you is like when we talk about the liability insurance and the WCB insurance, because it's very overlapping each other and it's confusing, how they complement each other and how they are different. If you can please simplify that, in small few words.
Sure, I'll do my best. So liability insurance protects against property damage, typically. WCB insurance protects the company. So your company, if you own a company or you're sole proprietor or that, it protects your employees. And what I mean by that is if your employee gets injured, instead of you having to pay for the hospital bills, the surgeries, the physiotherapy, or the lost wages, WCB pays for that. You pay them a premium, they take care of those costs.
So if I understood correctly what you have said, and if I can reword it, and please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Liability insurance will cover my actions, like what I have done. And if anything goes wrong and someone sued the company's action or the work. WCB will cover the employees, which include all level of like supervisors, worker, management, anyone, if they get injured while working. Is that correct?
Yes. The only exception is a director in the company. They would have to get separate coverage, which is called personal coverage. But otherwise, any employee, anyone who's designated an employee in a company would be covered, because what you do is you provide your payroll to WCB, and in WCB's eyes, payroll equals people. So the higher your payroll, the higher your premiums, because they think you have more people working for you.
Anthony, you did bring a question of employee and the director.
Yes.
And in small companies, the person who is a director is an employee too, because they might not be taking wages, but they're taking the lump sum amount in the end of the year as a bonus or dividend or anything. Yes. How do you differentiate? And if you can explain a little bit more about it.
So just to simplify it, because we can trust me, we can get into a really long discussion about it. Just to simplify it, if you are a director in a company or you're the owner of the company, you're not considered an employee under the legislation. What you would need to do is purchase what they call personal coverage. And personal coverage is an optional thing that a person can purchase from WCB based on what they anticipate their wages to be. So whether you're taking a salary out of the company or you're paying yourself in dividends, if at the end of the year, let's say you paid yourself $50,000, you could purchase personal coverage for $50,000. And that would then cover you in the event that you were injured from something work related. And it fit under the act, they would cover your medical expenses, your physiotherapy, and provide you with wages for any time that was missed from work.
So, Anthony, is the other question is like, is the WCB paperwork.
Yes.
When actually the WCB claim starts?
So a claim can get started three different ways. One is when you report to a doctor and the doctor believes that it's work related, or you tell them that it's work related. They will send a report to WCB. That will trigger a claim. The second way is for the worker to either phone or submit documentation to WCB advising them of a potential workplace injury, or an employer submitting a report to WCB. So it is possible for you to have an employee who's seen a doctor, has not reported something to you, and start an active WCB claim, and for you to find out after the fact. That doesn't take away from the potential acceptance of the claim. It just, there's a delay in reporting, which is what I work with employers a lot in how to bridge that gap so that they don't run into those situations. And something I should also note that we didn't talk about earlier that I think is important is that in many provinces, most industries, this is a mandatory coverage. And I think people, even smaller companies, they miss out on that, is that this is a mandatory insurance that you require. Now, some industries are exempt and different provinces have different rules for exemptions. So I would really encourage that if there's anyone out there who's looking at opening a WCB account or maybe doesn't have one yet and is working, it would be in your benefit to just contact them and make sure that you're not in that mandatory industry, because if you are, and WCB finds out later, you could be faced with thousands of dollars in premiums that are backdated. So I just want to put that out there for your listeners that this is extremely important. Just double check, because it's better be safe than sorry. You don't want to get hit with a large bill.
So you brought a topic, right? Remember we like the OHS, Occupational Health and Safety Code, Regulation and Act. Every province is different.
Yes.
Like, Alberta has their own rules. They're quite, they overlap. They're simple, but they're separate. Every province has a separate OHS book. I should specify Occupational Health and Safety guidelines, right? Or the guidebook or handybook. So the WCB is also separate. So my question to you is, I'm sorry, I know you wanted to start, but when we go, because you did mention some companies or some businesses or the work are mandatory to have a account, WCB account.
Yes.
So when, say, hypothetically, I'm in BC or Saskatchewan, when I go to the registry and open my business account or register a company, do they tell me this information, or where can I obtain this information?
So sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. I've had a few clients in the past 6 months contact me where they were not aware, either when they registered or even through their accountant. When they told their accountant didn't inform them. They weren't aware that they needed a WCB account. And so what ended up happening was it caused a little bit of an issue. So registries and your accountant and these kind of things should be telling you these things. And I also believe, when I spoke with some registry people, they said that when you register an account, they send you a letter stating that you should open up or check to see if you need a WCB account. But if you're
sorry to interrupt. When you say they will send a letter, who, WCB or the registry?
I believe that I'm not 100% sure on. I think it's someone through the registries or WCB, because what happens is the WCB pulls information from registry. So it could be either or. And again, it might be province dependent. The person that I spoke with was from a registry, and they said that they would have that a letter gets sent. They weren't specific on how that letter gets sent. But the one area that sometimes causes a gap is individuals use their accountant or their accountant's address as their business address. So sometimes the letter will go to the accountant, and the accountant will forget to relay that information to their client. And then that's where these gaps get created and potential for issues, financial issues.
So my question now, you have brought a topic, and being honest with you, my emails, or not my emails, my letters related to the business accounts or everything goes to the accountant also.
Yes.
What you mean? Be honest. So what you are recommending or suggesting, when you open an account, all the mail should come to you for a better control. Is that
not necessarily, because there's advantages. Yeah, because there's advantages to having your stuff go to your accountant. What I would suggest is, if you're listening to this, you're now aware that if you're opening an account, or maybe you're talking to someone who's thinking of starting a business and opening a corporate account, just tell them to phone WCB and double check to see if they need a WCB account. The WCB essentially says it's your responsibility as a business owner or as an executive to contact them and make sure that you're in compliance. So I would just say, wherever they send the letter, it's important that you ask a lot of questions when starting a business or buying a business, to say what coverage is needed, not just liability insurance, not just, the other insurance that you need, but also, do I need WCB coverage? I unfortunately, I would put that ownership on the individual versus these entities.
So Anthony, is a question, right? Like when you start a new business, or you're starting an entrepreneurship, or, self-employed and everything, it's a lot of overwhelming information you are receiving. And then, you're opening a business accounts, you are setting up a website, all those things. And on top of it, you have to call WCB, who before opening account, they ask so many questions, right? How easy is it to set up a account?
It can be relatively easy. So I actually have a free ebook on my website that someone can download that before they even contact WCB, it'll tell you the kinds of information they'll be looking for. The WCB website also has information, or even if you were to call them and say, what do I need if I want to open an account? They'll give you general information. In most provinces, you can register online. So there will be a portal that you go into. So you can go to the WCB website and type into the search, opening a new account. And it would walk you through the steps. It'll ask you for information, your incorporation certificate, all these other details about your business. And then from there, it'll go to an underwriter or someone in the WCB that will decide whether or not you fit the criteria and will they give you a policy or a WCB account.
Anthony, I have another question because there's a lot of confusion, right? And I will appreciate if you can clarify. So if I have, say, I'm a business people, like a small business, but then I operate in 4 different provinces. And I'm just going to take 4 because we are in Alberta, BC, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba.
Sure.
So what I'm understanding with the conversation with you, if I work in 4 different provinces, I need 4 WCB numbers. One number will not cover the other province. Is that correct?
Potentially. It every province has different criteria. It's dependent on how often your employees leave the province or work in another province. It can depend if you're based in Alberta, all your operations are in Alberta, but you get that 1 or 2 jobs in Saskatchewan or BC. So you leave just for that short period of time, but most of your work is here. And it's also different if you have offices in every province. So my best advice is that, again, if you're not sure, you can call us or you can contact the WCB in each province and ask them those questions. The reason I say that is, again, in order to properly answer every scenario, you and I wouldn't be doing a podcast. We'd be doing a whole series on it. So that's the simplified response. So yes, it's dependent on what type of work you're doing, where your employees are going, how often, those kind of things. So it's best to talk to someone about it before you just do any work.
My next question, and in Alberta, I'm just going to talk to Alberta because that is not true. Like that does not happen in BC.
Yes.
We have your account number. Then we have an industry code. The industry code belongs to which industry you are working or your work of area is. And it's a lot of confusion, what is my industry code and what is my account number and why they are different. Can you simplify that?
Sure. So think of it this way. Your account number is like your policy number for your car insurance. So if you call and they say, Sonny, what's your policy number? You might say 457-3ABH, where your industry code is like the car that you drive. So your industry is, so if you drive a Lamborghini, that would be like being in a roofing company, because there's a lot of risk to the insurance company if there's an accident, or it's more likely that there's going to be an accident in those types of situations. So your account number is like a policy number for your car insurance. So if you were to call the car insurance company and say, this is Sonny, I'm calling about my policy, they'll say, okay, your policy number is 45738B. Your industry code would be the type of work that you're doing, which in car insurance reference would be like the type of car that you drive. So a more expensive car is going to have higher premiums or higher risk, and as well as your driving and everything else. So if it's more likely that you work in an industry where your workers are going to be injured, like construction or something in oil and gas, you're going to be in a higher industry code. If you're an architect or in an engineering firm or in an office where that's where most of your work is, it's not going to be that much. So the industry code is the type of work that you're doing. Your account number is simply how to identify your company within WCB.
So if I understood correctly, and then to make it more simple, industry code is what you are doing and what the chances or likelihood of having an incident. Like if
Yes.
we are a consultant or in an office, chances of getting injury or incident is rare.
Yes.
Its likelihood is low, and
Yes.
compared to construction or trucking will be higher. And the same token, if I understood your the premium will be depending on your payroll, how much your payroll is. They will take the percentage of it and the industry you belong to. Is that correct?
Yes. So your premiums, and I'm glad you asked it because I'm actually putting out on my website a whole series on premiums and what they mean and how to read your premium rate statements, including videos. So the easiest way to understand premiums are affected by your payroll, by the industry rate, so the type of work that you're doing, and they're also affected by your experience. So if you've been in business for a while and you have a lot of claims, naturally they're gonna raise your premiums. If you're not in business very long, then it takes time to build that experience, and then they will decide that in the future. But the three factors are your payroll, your industry, and your experience, which is how much are your workers getting injured and how much is that costing WCB?
The human tendency, Anthony, we always bargain. We always ask for discounts. And, in WCB also is a ratio of the discounts, and a lot of people have a confusion how the discount rate works. What is discount? Why, say, me and you both are consultant, we both work from office, why your discount rate is higher than my discount rate? Could you just simplify that?
Absolutely. So the easiest way to explain it is that if you're in a certain, and I'm going to use the bigger pricing program because it's just easier. In the bigger pricing program with WCB, what they'll do in most provinces across the board is that they set a number, and that number is like an average cost of claim. So it's all about how much did it cost WCB to pay out all these claims. So all these injured workers, all their medical expenses, all their wages, how much did it cost WCB to pay that? Then they get an average, and then they look at it and they say, okay, if your claims cost for your size of company and your industry is higher than that number, they're going to give you a surcharge. And if it's lower, they're going to put you in a discount. So everything is run by the claims cost. So if you have one claim that is, $50,000, or you have three claims that are $50,000, at the end of the day, WCB spent $50,000. They want that money back. So they're going to raise premiums on that event, especially if the average cost of a claim was only $20,000, right? So you being over that amount, they're going to increase your premium. So, if you're like some people, if you're driving, you and me drive the same car, but I get more speeding tickets, I get in more accidents, it's costing the insurance company more money. I'm showing them that I'm an unsafe driver. They're going to raise my premiums, where you being a safe driver and not doing those things, not getting those tickets, you're going to get a discount on your premiums because you're showing that you're a much safer driver. So the more workers you get injured, the more it costs WCB, the more likely you're going to be in a surcharge.
You did mention the claims, right? And car insurance, as per my information, your insurance does not, if you have a claim, it could be property or injury, it can impact your insurance for 3 years. What about WCB? How long do you claim effect?
Great question. Yeah, the WCB claims will follow you in Alberta, for example, for 3 years. I've seen in some provinces it can be as many as 5 years. And then they wait each year, or they judge them differently. So in Alberta, any claim that happens in 2022 will affect you for 2024, 25, and 26. So that claim will sit on your account until 2026 and impact your premiums.
Now, it's another, question is the reporting period. Like there's a lot of questions on it. Like how long I have or how much time I have to report to WCB. So incident happened today. Do have 24 hours? Do have 72 hours? Do have 2 years? What is a time frame?
So every province is different. They have different reporting periods and timelines. For Alberta, it's 72 hours, but a worker has up to 2 years to report an injury. So the easiest way to do it is, and it's from when you were notified of the incident. So if a worker was injured on Monday, but they didn't tell you, the employer, until Thursday, your clock starts on Thursday, not Monday.
In the end, what message you would like to give to the viewers in to the companies or the people who are starting their business, or they are small claims, or small, the small employers.
Sure.
And small employers, we say usually from 1 employee to about 20 employees. So what message would you like to give it to them about WCB?
When it comes to WCB, I mean, first and foremost, there's nothing to be afraid of. I know a lot of people, they're concerned, they're worried, they think it's government. It's an insurance company like any other. And so the better that you understand the system, the better you know what actions to take. So first and foremost, whether you're a small company or a big company, get some sort of claims management program so that if somebody reports an injury to you, you know how to react, or your supervisors or your foreman or whoever are working in your organization know, even if it's just one person. So that 20-person company, you only need one person. And I usually suggest to owners, have some background knowledge of it. You don't need to be the expert. People think they need a lawyer or they need experts in order to do this. You don't. All you need is the right information. So make sure you know where doctors and clinics and hospitals are around your workplaces. Make sure that people in the company know where they are so that if somebody reports an injury, they can go there. You want some basic documentation. So like an incident report form or even a witness statement to capture information. And you also want to make sure that your workers know that if they have an injury, that they should report it immediately to you and to WCB. And if you have the workers report, provide it to them as well, because it is a requirement as an employer. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're truly unsure, you have an incident, maybe, you're so busy getting your business set up, you haven't had a chance to look at this, but somebody in the meantime comes to you and says, I have symptoms or I've been injured, and you're not sure what to do, phone someone. You can either phone WCB, phone us. We specialize on the employer side, so we will walk you through, and everything we do is to make sure that the worker gets everything they're legally entitled to, but in the most cost-effective way for the company. So if you're not sure about what you need in your program, or maybe you have a program and you're not sure if you're missing anything, we can talk to you. We can make sure that you have everything that you need. But ultimately, the nice thing about WCB is if you ask for help, there is people there to help you. So that would be the most thing, is try not to figure it out on your own. If you try to figure it out on your own, it can become stressful. There are resources out there to help you.
Thank you, Anthony. Thanks a lot taking a time and speaking to us and giving a vast knowledge about the WCB, what is it, what it includes and what it not includes. Once again, thank you. Thanks a lot. You are watching our Infinity Safety Awareness podcast show on our community. To encourage us, please like and subscribe our channel by clicking on the bell icon. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Stay warm.